Hello everyone, this is Zooc, and today I'm going to be showing you how I designed the new CynicalBrit t-shirt, which you will hopefully soon see available for sale. Basically, the idea behind this was TB said in one of his podcasts something like, I'm the freaking archmage of the universe or something. And so people took a liking to that and they wanted a t-shirt. So the initial idea was to create it as a sort of an ID card with, like freaking archmage and of the universe as the address. But then I sat and thought about it a bit and decided to make it in the form of a trading card. So I took an old picture, well, not really old, relatively recent, an old picture of him and traced it in Illustrator, basically turned it into a vector. A vector is something that can be resized infinitely. So it's unlike an image, it's a drawing, basically. Also found a wizard hat, which I did the same thing to, turned it into a vector, and decided to play around with it. Why not? Because after all, archmage, wizard hats, why not? Basically, the mindset behind this was I used to play World of Warcraft trading card, and I had some. Well, you gotta admit, if there's one thing you can say is that World of Warcraft has some nice-looking trading cards. So I took one of those, scanned it, placed it on a shirt, and sort of went by the model and created my own version of it from scratch. So for the people that are into this sort of shit, I guess they might find it somewhat interesting. Basically what I'm doing, I'm working in Photoshop and Illustrator at the same time. Brought TB's picture or drawing in from Illustrator and the hat as well. And, got my measurements ready, my page is ready. It's a 30 centimeter by 20 centimeter page at 300 dpi, CMYK, because it's going to be printed. Did the edges according to the model I had, and basically what I'm doing is working with a lot of layer styles that I bought off Graphic River. Graphic River is one of the websites run by Envato, which has like PSD tuts and vector tuts. It's a very good network. Lots of websites with very good info and resources. So I bought a bunch of like layer styles and text effects and stuff. So I use them a lot during when I work. So they were proven to be a pretty good investment. So basically, I'm just experimenting really. Like this whole project took about 6 hours in total. And I got pissed off a bunch of times because I blue screened and lost like my recording. So I had to lost my recording and save. So I had to do it all over again a few times. So it wasn't the most pleasant of experiences. But what I have a lot of resources on my computer. Like I downloaded along the years, hundreds, thousands of wallpapers, images, fonts, text effects, color schemes, gradients, you name it. There's like a bunch of stuff. And, sometimes I thought that maybe I won't have use for this stuff, but a lot of times it has happened that an opportunity arose where I used some obscure fucking item that I thought I would never use, like those fiery fonts. I thought like, I've never used those before. First time I've ever used them, and I knew about them, and I just like, I just thought about them, remembered that I had them, and decided to put them to good use. So basically what I'm doing is building the interface, if you will, building the frame, various decorative elements, which sometimes I try to use them ready-made or work on them myself, like cut certain pieces and assemble them into something else. A lot of times I just choose to do my own, like right here, for example, I'm building my own shapes and stuff. It's most of the time it goes faster than taking something and trying to work with something someone has already made. Obviously, one of the biggest obstacles in making something like this is trying to integrate a character into... well, the picture wasn't the best, let's just put it like that. So trying to integrate the picture into the background and making it look natural. And the way I did that was I chose a textured background, like the one behind TV. It's a grungy, scratchy sort of background. Put like a fire image overlay on top of it. And then... applied noise to a bunch of layers and overlaid them over the hat and his bust to try and make everything look like it belongs in the same picture. What you saw there was just, I found a random wallpaper that had part of the image that I liked, and so I duplicated and mirrored it and made good use of it. As you can see, it looks kind of nice there. Sort of fiery, red, magey stuff. I ended up having about 100 layers at the end of this project, which is... It's not that much. I mean, you can get to like hundreds of layers. But it was enough to make my computer run pretty slow, because after all, it was a 20 by 30 centimeter, like 1 foot by 2/3 of a foot at print resolution. So it does get pretty strenuous on your hardware doing that, especially with the amount of details. Like the file ended up having like almost 300 megs. Anyway, basically the thought, I didn't have a strategy going into this. I just sort of did it as I went along, as I do with most of my projects. There's no real... Basically what I have is just, I browse through Bridge, like Adobe Bridge, try to find some image that I like, that I think will fit the circumstance, and work with that. And, you know, this is at, I don't know how many 1000% speed, but the time spent searching almost equals the time spent actually working. Because searching, you know, it's not easy to organize a library of images and categorize them accordingly. So sometimes you just gotta look through all of them over and over and over again until you actually find something. Or at least I have to do that until I actually find something that fits the situation. Going back, doing a lot of touch-ups on various things. Right there, I grabbed a random image of a metal texture, and I didn't know what I was gonna do with it, but I applied like a motion blur to it and a color overlay, and eventually it turned out fitting the situation. Now I'm looking for a little banner to put on top, where the like race was supposed to be, or like, yeah, the class or race, something like that. And see, I spent this time going through all of my vector collections trying to find a banner that looks better, and eventually I found that one. Changed the colors around, moved it around a bit. I'm gonna be playing with the some overlay layers, trying to cut certain pieces out of it, putting other pieces in, just trying to make it fit the whole picture, basically. Trying to give it a similar texture to the other elements in the project, and not really knowing what the fuck I'm doing. Like, again, I don't have a clear method for doing this. I just improvise. A lot of times I end up doing things that would have lasted like much less time if I knew like a command or shortcut, but I don't really have time to learn the shortcuts because I spend the time actually doing stuff in Photoshop. So I don't mind, you know. For me, it's a sort of a zen experience. I don't get stressed when I work. For me, it's relaxing and gives me the opportunity to try a bunch of stuff out and see what works and what doesn't. I have a lot of styles, as I mentioned, that I work with, like pre-made layer styles that I modify on the spot. Sometimes I don't like them at all. Sometimes I make my own. Sometimes I combine them in ways that they weren't meant to be combined. Also, hundreds of fonts. Trying to find the proper font for something is always a pain in the ass in graphic design, but eventually I ended up using the bold version of the classic World of Warcraft font, which is Frizz Quadrata or something like that, because it's a nice font. It has a sort of, it's a semi-serif, if you would say. It's not really a sans serif, but it looks okay for the circumstance. It looks like sort of old but modern at the same time, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. It just looks okay. Going back, doing a lot of touch-ups on what I had previously done, trying to incorporate the frames properly into the picture, playing around with layer styles, and just sort of improvising, really, not knowing where I'm going with it, just sort of thinking as I go along, like, what would this picture need to make it more special? For example, there, it had number 28. Now I decided, since it's Archmage related, mage related, fire, flames, let's put some flames in. So that's kind of where I went with it. Playing a bit with layer styles and just duplicated it and placed it there. So that's where I came up with like a random text for it. Thought that, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny to me. That's the quote, because trading cards have to have some sort of quote. So basically, that's it for the picture. You know, you got to see like how I went about doing what it is I do on a almost daily basis. Sometimes things fail miserably. Sometimes I go with something that really doesn't work out at all, and I basically delete just about everything and start from the top. But this time I think it went rather okay, and I got to a point where I'm happy with what I made. And so is my employer, obviously, else I wouldn't be posting this video. using it on a t-shirt template just to see like how it would look, placing it there, and I think it looks pretty damn sweet. So hopefully the print company will be able to print this out because it's pretty detailed. But anyway, that was the creative design process behind the new CynicalBrit t-shirt. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys around. Bye bye.